Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Commission Corner. This time with a new episode and the first guest from Italy. And it's a pleasure to have Lorenzo Saccardi today with us, Head of Revenue Operations from Smartness, formerly Smart Pricing, if I know correctly. So, Lorenzo,
You are
warm
absolutely
welcome from my
correct.
side.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Alexander, and thanks a lot, Gregor, for inviting me.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here. I also saw that you're located in Spain, Madrid. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's absolutely correct. I moved here 2.5 years ago to pursue a different professional experience. And it's a great place. Um, you know, um, Kind of funny setting. Full remote settings are let's say nice on some aspects, a bit more challenging on some other aspects. But fortunately, I joined a company that is very structured and makes it easy on people. So like I'm very fortunate on let's say the city I live in and the company I work for. And this is not let's say no let's say no market or whatever. It's like I truly feel that.
New work style of life. That's really cool that your company you're employed in offers that way of working. Will you maybe give us the pleasure of introducing yourself quickly? Who are you and what is your role?
Yeah, sure. I'm Lorenzo, as I already said. Um, from let's say a professional perspective, I've got a very I'd call it standard academic background. I graduated in economics. After that, I joined for the first part of my professional career, boutique consulting firm focused on digital transformation. And in the let's say latter part of this experience, I started touching a bit the world of operations and sales and marketing in a more let's say digitized way. I started putting my hands on CRMs, working on B2B marketing projects. So in here, I started in this part of my let's say first part of my career. I started getting a grasp of let's say revenue operations, even if back then it was not called that way because I'm talking about 2019, 2018. Um, and let's say I started understanding that I really like this part. Um, Despite that, I let's say decided to take a step, I would say, to the side, doing an MBA for 1.5 year. It was like an amazing experience for me, and let's say one I would recommend even to people that let's say would like to join startups. I know it's not so common, so to say, for let's say startups to do this kind of path, but it was an enlightening experience for me, which ultimately allowed me to understand that I wanted to enter the startup or scale up world. And the end of 2021, I did join first Scalapay, which is the first Italian unicorn in the BNPL space, which was again an amazing experience for me. I joined in the pure scaling phase because I joined before the Series B. So I saw the, let's say, steep curve that it takes you to Series B. Then in 2023, another opportunity popped up and I decided to move to Spain, simply because, let's say, I was feeling great in Scalapay. Honestly, it's a great company. I just felt like I needed, let's say, a different challenge. Also from a personal perspective, moving abroad again. I've done that in the past, but let's say, I felt like I wanted to do it for real again. And then ultimately, I joined Smartness earlier this year in April. It's 6 months now, and it's been a great experience. So again, at Scalapay, I was sales operations manager back then. Right now, I'm head of revenue operations. So revenue operations was not existing, at least in Italy, yet in 2021, or let's say the revenue operations as we know it. It was sales ops, but it was already starting to get into RevOps, and without even knowing it, because at the end of the day, um, I was doing more or less the things I do today. Obviously, in a different fashion, different ways, many things changed. But yeah, basically, I was able to bring some learnings of that experience into Smartness and to what I'm doing now. again, Smartness right now, great company, again, Series A some years ago. Now, let's say in the very scale, let's say in a very exciting phase of the company. I'll tell you about in a bit. But let's say that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. So you mentioned you transitioned into your RevOps role that you are right now, but in fact, you actually did it prior to the role that you have right now in sales operations, because RevOps also came to Europe more or less in a slowly manner. But now you already did the work that RevOps basically entails. So what is it about RevOps that excites you?
I mean, that's a very good question. It's probably the fact that you are in a privileged perspective from some points of view, and it's a very challenging perspective because you are asked and you're in the position to basically connect the dots. Many companies tend to work like siloed, even in the startup world. Like you think that like everything is flat, everything is, we talk to each other, we do collaborate greatly, blah, blah, blah. Even for startups or scale ups, it's not like that. And it's like everybody has, and well, especially for scale up, actually, everybody has his piece of work, that his or her piece of work that they need to do, and everybody's focused on that. So, raising the gaze and to look from a, let's say, broader perspective, saying like, guys, we are doing this thing and we're doing that thing. Those are the same. We just need to connect them. It's what excites me, honestly, about the role. Again, it's a connecting the dots. It's also some problem-solving way. Some problem-solving role. Why am I saying that? Because, like, again, having this more horizontal view, helicopter view, as my manager would say, you tend to get, let's say, sort of like, I've got this problem. Okay, we have got like a solution that we have done in another department. This way we can replicate it, or we can do this way in order to also make this other department work. So I think it's really exciting to being able to streamline the processes and workflows across the organization to make it work. Like there was a friction one day, and the following there's not. Okay, and obviously other frictions are going to come because it's not that like from one day to the next just for the problem, and it's the lucky part of working in hectic environments like the scale up environments where everything changes on a daily basis. But it's what really gets me excited. Plus the fact that doing this, you get to speak with basically everyone inside the company, and it's not something that happens on like everywhere or with every role. You really get the opportunity to confront yourself with people from different departments. One thing, for example, I noticed that it's never mentioned in, for example, job description or the way people think about revenue operations in a general manner, but a huge chunk of the job goes into coordinating with finance, with the CFO, with the finance team. That's something that I found repetitively across my experiences, and it's a sort of undervalued place, okay? But it's really core, because at the end of the day, especially in this kind of environment where you sell online services, where you sell a SaaS, whether you sell a payment method or whatever, everything revolves around being able to connect the sale to the subscription or the integration, whatever, to the actual cash flow, and that part is crucial because, let's say, many times you get like you've got CSM that don't have clear views on like what's the real subscription of this customer and how much is he paying. So it's being able to make it happen. So it's really stimulating in my opinion, and for me, obviously.
Yeah, you mentioned something very interesting, and sorry, Gregor, that I jump in right here, but I had a thought that I wanted to continue and follow up on. So what a lot of times we hear from RevOps or head of RevOps that they have a reporting line either to the CRO, so like a revenue driving force, or the COO, like an operational role. How do you perceive RevOps? Because you also mentioned that you are working very closely with finance as well.
Yeah, like I'm probably an exception because this had never happened to me, like in like, or I've never seen that. I actually report to the chief experience officer. You know, he was basically one of the first figures on board of the company back then. And let's say I didn't know how to, let's say, consider this when I first joined, but the more I go on, the more I realize that at the end of the day, this makes sense because it's like chief experience officer and experience itself, it's the entire experience of the customer, you know? So at the end of the day, it's the external customer, which depends on how the internal customers, so your colleagues, are working and are streamlined across all the different departments, you know? And at the end of the day, if something is not working internally, like we are missing this information or that information, or we need to do this process, blah, 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 it's going to reflect on the overall experience that the customer has. So the more I go on, the more I see this as a very fitting role. Sorry, very fitting, let's say, collocation inside an organization if you have such. Otherwise, honestly, it's a thin line. You know, like whether you report to the CEO or the CRO, like in our company, like the COO is also the CRO. In previous experiences, the COO were more or less the CROs. Okay, at Scalapay, the COO was the COO. Okay, so operations. Okay, and we had another person that, let's say, was taking the revenue side. So it really depends on how the organization is set up and what are the main responsibilities of the chiefs, you know, of the different departments. It's really that simple and that complicated, I would say, because there's no perfect fit, in my opinion, inside an organization. It really depends on how the organization is structured, how does it work, who is the person that, let's say, again, is already by nature more horizontal rather than vertical. So there's a lot of factors going into that. Personally, I have no strong point on that because, yeah, it in the name has the revenue component, but like your day to day, it's way more operations rather than revenue. You know, like you have true operations to enable revenues. Okay, so it's in there, you know. So I would not be able to take a complete stance. It really varies on the context, in my opinion.
And the chief experience officer, is it to be understood as the chief like customer success, or what is the role of experience officer?
No, like experience, it's overall, you know. So it's like under Federico, who is my manager, there's the onboarding part. He has a strong connection with CSM. There's customer support on that. So it's like different shapes and forms, you know. It's like it's overall how do we make the experience of the customer in general enhanced, I would say. Doesn't necessarily pass through, let's say, managing directly or coordinating directly the CSM department. It's more how do we make sure that internally we have got all the pieces to provide to the customer the best experience possible. You know, so that's like, again, that's very interesting in my opinion. It's a new situation. It was a new situation for me again back then, but let's say honestly, I say that it makes sense after 6 months in the position.
Yeah, really, really interesting because it maybe puts a different focus on the revenue operations manager role, as in organizations where the reporting line is more directed to CRO or finance department, which is probably also impacting the focus of your work, I can imagine.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, probably the good part of that is that there's no real focus. It's like it may seem paradoxical, but the focus is simply making stuff happen, and there's no obviously the focus of a company will probably always be especially in this kind of hyper growth environment over the growth aspect of the company. So how do we make sure that the sales team has everything that they need to sell, the CSM has everything to upsell, and so on and so forth. So obviously, I would say that by nature, especially in heavily ambitious startups, the focus is there, But being outside that engine, or technically outside, allows you to keep a more, let's say, balanced approach. I would say a fairer approach towards all the aspect of the entire customer experience. So you're not just saying, okay, it's an onboarding stuff, so let's say we do it later on. Okay, it pushes you to say, okay, we are all on the same level here, so we need to give them focus on. So it's very, very interesting, I would say.
And interesting is also the company that you're currently working for. So maybe let's go one step back, and maybe you can tell us a bit more about Smartness, what they are doing, and also what your ideal customer profile looks like. So the listeners, maybe we have listeners among us that say, okay, that's really interesting for us, and you might be able to win a new client.
Yeah, sure. That would be amazing. So in a nutshell, basically, Smartness, formerly known, as you said, Smart Pricing, or sorry, not formerly known, but born as Smart Pricing. We're a travel tech company. We were born by, let's say, developing dynamic pricing software, which is Smart Pricing, which still exists. Okay. And we evolved into an ecosystem of products and now also services tailored for the hospitality industry, like from hotels to B&Bs, campsites, vacation rentals, and so on and so forth. It's a suite which encompasses different products. Again, we were born with the dynamic pricing software. We now have, through different acquisitions, also the property management system part. We also have a few additional layers, one that we have developed in-house regarding the chats for with the customers for our customers. So the chats and the conversation from the hotel, we sell the service to their customer in order to better manage the conversations. We also have marketing services with Smart Connect. So we're trying to basically have a all-encompassing suite of services that we can sell to the hospitality players. And the ultimate goal of Smartness is to, let's say, get not read or get free, let's say, hospitality players from the OTAs, online travel agencies like Booking or Airbnb or whatever, but let them have more control over the entire, let's say, sales funnel. Now everyone goes to booking.com or Airbnb to make a reservation, and obviously there's more visibility probably for the hotel per half instance. Okay, but obviously, given that you pass through a third party, there's way less margin. Okay, so what we want to do is to empower with digital tools the hospitality players to gain more margin by being more in control of how they position themselves on the market, how they manage the reservation, how do they place the reservation and the prices on the website in order to make them, let's say, to give them the perfect price at the perfect right time. This is actually how Smart Pricing, our core product, work, by integrating many different layers of data, from events to what's happening in the area to how's the competition doing, to provide our customers with the perfect price point for any given date over the next, I can't even remember if it's 1.5 years or 2 years. Okay, so it's like very precise to maximize the margin for them to spend in, let's say, improving activities, or for them to have more margin to invest into their activities. So it's like enabling the hospitality players to get back control of their business, basically, and their margin. So that's a very ambitious goal. But let's say I feel like we have the right team to do that. We have been listed in a couple of, let's say, renowned newspapers as, let's say, among the fastest growing companies in Italy in the SaaS sector. So let's say we definitely are pushing hard, and that's our goal. So whomever in the hospitality industry is, let's say, hearing this, like, we're here for you.
And it sounds like a really powerful value proposition that you can, that you don't really need to educate your customers on, because it's quite obvious that having control or power over your own pricing, looking at external
Yeah,
factors,
it's
is really
like it even goes beyond that. Like, there's obviously, like, nowadays, like, maybe I see this from a deviated perspective, but people perceive like there's no alternative to booking. If you wanna be relevant, or if you wanna get a booking, you gotta be on booking.com. That's as simple as that. The reality is not that, and I think that, for example, the good old inbound marketing taught us that like 15, 20 years ago, even more probably. Okay, and it's just giving the hotellerie players and the hospitality players, sorry, all the necessary tools to create engines for themselves in order to boost their growth, okay, autonomously. So it's, pass me the term, and obviously within commerce, educating them, but also giving them the tools to be more proactive on their own. And we also provide services to accompany them hand in hand to make this happen. So it's a very ambitious challenge, and like one fortune that I had in my experiences in scale ups and startups, especially here and at Scalapay. I have been working with very passionate, but most importantly, very ambitious founders, and that makes the entire difference in the world. Like that makes a huge difference. Like Luca here is someone that still today, like the company was born in 2019. When we receive a negative CSAT, he calls the customer and tries to understand what went wrong. Like the CEO has a dedicated space in his calendar to call customer, and that sets the difference, like obviously pushing hard and motivating everyone, but remaining, let's say, grounded and like trying to understand what's really going wrong. So it's I've been very fortunate on this side.
Also being
ICP,
a
when you ask me about the ICP, just to conclude, basically, at the very beginning, we were targeting more or less everyone, okay, who had like even one room. Right now, obviously, we are growing. I'm not saying we are getting picky, because we are not getting picky and we still continue to serve everyone, okay? But our focus is shifting more towards, let's say, for some of our products, some businesses that have, just to give you a driver, maybe more than 10 rooms, okay, for some of our products. Some of our products are even fitted for companies that have 30 rooms or more, or 30 apartments and more, okay? So those are the drivers, basically, for our customer profile. And obviously, an entrepreneurial mindset devoted to growth and being able to take something back from the online world.
Mm. I could assume that now with the shift in the ICP, that the sales process might also have shifted towards a new way of approaching customers. Because if I think of how would I do it, I think when you're targeting a company with maybe 1 room or up to 10 rooms, it might be easy to reach them via the phone. but with a bigger room number of rooms, it might be more difficult to reach the actual decision makers, right?
It is. It obviously is. Like one good aspect, my opinion, of the hospitality industry is that, like, if you find a website, there's always a room number and there's always somebody answering on the other side of the phone because, like, you're trying to get reservations, you know. So that's, let's say, it may be simplistic, but that's, let's say, one upside of the industry. At the very same time, 99% of the time, whomever answers, not 99%, no, sorry, not 99%, but the vast majority of the time, somebody picks up the phone on the other side. He's not the decision maker. So you need to be wise enough to sell I'm not saying the solution, but the need to the person listening, like making them feel like if they don't pass the conversation to the decision maker, or if they don't give you the name to the decision maker, they are making the decision maker losing an opportunity. So that's the key part, like highlighting the huge opportunity that they are losing. And we are using different tactics to that, like nowadays through scraping, for example, you can understand, you can see, you can evaluate the technologies, some technologies that they're using, the different websites or whatever. So you know how to target someone that is using a specific technology, and you know that maybe you have a particular selling point with respect to them, and you start the conversation with that, so it's very interesting. It's like it's obviously changing, it's shifting, like even because now, as I said, we've got different products, so every product having I'm not saying its own ICP, but let's say maybe not having all the same ICPs. Like the sales people have to be very good at remembering, like these I can position here, here, and here, whereas on this other customer I can only position ABC, with respect to D and E. Okay, so it's like it's a job. It's a tough job of also like enabling the salespeople to have all the right tools at the right time. Let's say we as RevOps team also, let's say, struggle at times to keep up with that. It's a tough job. But like enablement, it's one of the toughest job that there is out there, in my opinion. Like I don't know if you spoke to some people that have enablement people people dedicated to enablement, but in my opinion, enablement is one of the toughest thing to do. Like we went wrong already in 6 months. I don't know many times with enabling solutions, to the sales team. So it's like that's tough. So the process changes. Enablement is crucial, and enablement is very, very tough. Just to sum up, so things are getting, let's say, from some perspective, tougher because salespeople have more weapons in their arsenal. But it's tough to always be there, reminding them that, guys, you have got that weapon, so like use it.
Wonderful, yeah. And enablement can also be driven by sales commissions at one part.
Yeah.
That is also interesting because you mentioned that you're partly being responsible of enabling the sales team. Some companies have a dedicated role just to do it, and for others it's incorporated into the revenue operations role, but is such an important part of the sales process to have motivated and enabled a sales team. Unfortunately, we are already running into the end of the podcast today, but we have a game that we usually play with our guests, and it's about enablement in terms of commissions. So if you were to create a new commission plan for a sales team or for a customer success team, we ask you either or questions. So you have to decide which preference you personally have if creating a new commission scheme, and Alex will kick it off.
Yes. And Lorenzo, you have now a sales team of over 40 sellers, right? At Smartness?
Yeah, we do across different markets.
Okay, and now since Q3 is over, Q4 is already running, the foundation for 2026 needs to be laid. And so the question is, if you were to build a commission plan, would you put a higher focus on the fixed amount or on the variable amount of a compensation?
This is a no-brainer, honestly. Variable amount, because I've seen it with many different sales team. If you get a sales team that it's more interested into into fixed rather than variable, you got a problem. Like, if you want, let's say, a good sales team, you need hungry people. You have to pay them, in my opinion, well, because maybe I don't know if it's just in Italy, but I also saw this in Spain, but I think in Europe in general, we've got I don't know, strange vision or conception of, sales role, like something, I don't know, diminished with respect in terms of importance with respect to the rest of organizations, whereas they bring customers in. So they are basically the most important roles, because no sales, no business, and no everybody else. So I'm of the opinion that you need to have a very incentivizing scheme for the salespeople. You have to pay them well, in my opinion. The toughest part is, making sure that you pay them well, but at certain landmarks that you want to get. Like, this is a challenge that we're facing internally right now. It's not just, for example, paying them for the sake of paying them because, let's say, somebody signed, but you need to make sure that that customer brings in value. Otherwise, it's meaningless. Otherwise it's meaningless. So I'm more towards, let's say, when it comes to commission designing, potentially paying more, but unlocked at real value generated by the customer. Okay, I'm paying you more, but when, let's say, the customer is on, when it's signed, when it's paying, because then you have done your job. You sold the product well. Okay, otherwise you could sell dreams, they would sign and then they never finish the onboarding. I don't know, and that doesn't work. It's hard for a company.
Yeah, you're mentioning like phased payouts at that point, and that can really drive motivation. When you create this commission plan more focused on variable pay, would the payout itself be dependent on solely target attainment? So would you create an on-target earning, or would you share revenue of each closed deal?
Like, in my opinion, the only attainment doesn't work, in my opinion, because again, the same criticality just mentioned, you reach like 120% of your quota, and then 60% of that doesn't even get live on our platform, so doesn't work. It's a losing game, and in the long term, it's a losing game also for the sales staff, because let's say everybody's gonna have the feeling that they were overpaid. So this is going to result in a reduction of commission and more, and let's say higher gate to entry and whatever. So it's better to set the game straight from the very, very beginning, in my opinion, and saying, okay, cool. This is let's say, I'm giving you, for example, the percentage on, this is what we do now, of commission based on the attainment. Okay, so based on the attainment, based on how you reach of your quota, you're going to get 8% of the deal, for example, okay? But you're going to get that only once that customer is live and paying. So we are going towards, let's say, the third payment, but with the quota attainment. So we are doing a bit of a mix.
Interesting, yeah. Doesn't sound too unusual. But
No.
Yeah, it makes sense for your business model for sure. Would you also incorporate a cliff, like a minimum threshold until commission is paid out, or would you work without a cliff?
No, like I would incorporate a cliff. Right now we have a cliff, but I would incorporate anyway. Because again, you need to, let's say, see how motivated people are. and the risk is like, without a cliff, having people that, are happy with their fixed salary plus 20% of the quota that they achieve. Okay. And they're happy with that. They continue living like that. And it's okay. At the end of the day, it doesn't yield the result. So in my opinion, you need to have like hungry people in there. And obviously, as in every organization, you will have hungrier people, less hungry people, and it's normal, Otherwise, if you had all hungry people, everybody would be at each other's throat, and it doesn't work. But you need to have a group of salespeople that are motivated to go beyond basically their limits, by being rewarded for doing so. So that's the thing, and you need to set a basis. Like you need to do it's sort of you do the minimum work, and then we start talking. Okay, but the minimum work you need to do, you need to put it in.
And I guess you touched base with it already, but last question would be to put a cap on commission, or would you pay out uncapped commissions?
I would go for a cap, honestly. Because capping commissions, in my opinion, creates deviant logics. I don't know. I know that I've got a cap commission for the month. Okay, cool. Like I reach my cap. Let's bring this one to the next month, or let's bring this one to the next quarter. And then you enter into a vicious circle where sales might lose, let's say, sight of what's important. Okay, so at that point, I say like, look, you are bringing in 5,000 euro of deals more than your quota. Like I'm paying that to you. Like you brought it in. Let's get it on. So it's like I'm more towards uncapped. Obviously, this can cause some frictions at the very beginning, like for new joiners or whatever. Just to give you again an example of how we do that, we have got capped commission at the very beginning of the tenure of the salesperson. Because what we do is we weight the attainment based on the month. So for example, first month you should have this quota based on your role, and it's 25% of that. Second month it's 50%, but in that moment it's capped, because the quota is easier. So we strike a balance in there.
Okay, like you have incorporated a ramp-up phase, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Yeah, Lorenzo, it's already 38 minutes in. Unfortunately, it's a wrap already, but we are very happy that we got to know you and also Smartness, one of the most thriving companies from Italy, and especially helpful for the hospitality industry, helping with dynamic pricing, also helping with the communication towards the customers. And I think you're on a quite interesting journey so far. I think we will see and hear a lot more about Smartness, not only in one newspaper, but multiple ones. And thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you guys. Thanks a lot, Gregor and Alex. It's been a pleasure. Hope to speak to you soon.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.